The 2025 Broncos clinched the 1 seed with their best record in decades. But before Bo Nix, before the comeback, there was the defense that made Denver dangerous, the Orange Crush. From 77 to 81, they terrorized the AFC and carried Denver to its first Super Bowl. Nearly 50 years later, that blueprint is still visible every Sunday in Mile High. So whatever happened to the legends who built it? Let's start with the man who designed the whole darn thing. Joe Collier was a Northwestern All-American in 1952 and 1953, who would go on to become one of the most respected defensive minds in football. He served as head coach of the Bills from 1966 to 1968, before finding his true calling in Denver. Collier became the Broncos' defensive coordinator in 1969, a position he would hold for nearly 2 decades through 1988. Disciplined scheme, pressure from every level, that was his fingerprint. As the architect of the Orange Crush defense, Collier helped transform the Broncos into one of the most feared units of the 1970s. His defense carried Denver to multiple playoff runs and established a culture that would define the franchise for years to come. Collier died in 2024 at age 91. By 1977, Collier's system had a name, the Orange Crush, and the men who ran it were about to become legends. Bill Thompson spent 13 seasons in orange and blue, his entire NFL career. From 1969 to 1981, the safety and cornerback became one of the foundational pieces of Denver's secondary, establishing a defensive identity before the Orange Crush even had a name. Thompson still holds the Broncos' franchise record for interception return yards at 784. He's third all-time in games started with 179. A rangy defender who didn't just intercept passes, he took them to the house. 3 Pro Bowls, 1 All-Pro selection, and a Ring of Fame induction in 1987 cemented his legacy. Maryland Eastern Shore put him in their Hall of Fame in 1984. At 79, Thompson is still giving back, active with his alma mater's alumni association, supporting scholarship programs and helping families get students through school. Barney Chavis was a defensive end for the Denver Broncos, drafted in 1972 and anchoring their defensive line for over a decade. He finished his career with 75 sacks, third in Broncos history, and made 177 career starts, tied for third in franchise history. Relentless off the edge, pressuring quarterbacks with consistency and endurance. Chavis was a fixture in Denver's defense throughout the 1970s and early 1980s, a workhorse who rarely missed a game. After hanging up his cleats in '86, he stayed with the Broncos, 11 more seasons as an assistant coach, working under Reeves, Wade Phillips, and Mike Shanahan. He was on the sideline for both Super Bowl wins in '97 and '98, 25 years total in orange and blue. Today, at age 74, Chavis coaches team sports at Tutt Middle School in Augusta, Georgia, still teaching the game. Riley Odoms was Denver's 5th overall pick in 1972. At the time, tied with Mike Ditka for the highest a tight end had ever been drafted. A weapon over the middle, with soft hands and the precision to find every seam, Odoms gave Broncos quarterbacks a safety valve for the better part of a decade. He made 4 Pro Bowls and earned 2 All-Pro selections, establishing himself as one of the premier tight ends of the '70s. Athletic bloodlines helped. His grandfather, Biz Mackey, is in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Odom stayed in the Denver area after retiring. In 2024, he was inducted into the Broncos Ring of Fame. At 75, he finally got the recognition that was long overdue. If these stories from Denver's legendary defense are hitting home, hit subscribe. We've got more coming your way. Haven Moses was the Orange Crush's deep threat. The wide receiver arrived in Denver via a 1972 trade from Buffalo and became Craig Morton's most dangerous weapon, stretching defenses and making plays in traffic when it mattered. A speedster who could get behind coverage with the hands to come down with contested catches. Moses was a 2-time Pro Bowler, finishing his career with 448 receptions, 8,091 yards, and 56 touchdowns. He still holds the Broncos franchise record for yards per reception at 18.05, a mark that speaks to his big play ability. In the 1977 AFC Championship game, Moses caught 2 touchdowns to send Denver to its first Super Bowl. That performance cemented his place in franchise history. After retiring at 35, Moses spent 15 years in community affairs with Coors, then worked with the Archdiocese of Denver and Denver Health Foundation. At 78, he's still part of the Denver community he helped put on the map. Tom Jackson was a cornerstone of the Denver Broncos defense for 14 seasons, starting in 1973. The linebacker made 3 Pro Bowls and earned All-Pro honors twice during his career with Denver. A communicator and organizer in the middle of the defense, always reading the offense. After hanging up his cleats, Jackson transitioned seamlessly into broadcasting, spending 29 years as an NFL analyst for ESPN. He co-hosted NFL Primetime with Chris Berman and became a fixture with the popular Jacked Up segment. Jackson also published Blitz, an autobiography in 1987, chronicling his playing days and early media career. He's now a retired ESPN analyst. At 74, he lives in Cincinnati with his wife, Jennifer. The Broncos' backfield had a star of its own. Running back Otis Armstrong was the 9th overall pick in 1973 and led the NFL in rushing as a sophomore with 1,407 yards. Explosive bursts through the hole with the power to punish defenders. Armstrong made 2 Pro Bowls and earned an All-Pro nod during his 8 seasons in Denver. He was part of that Super Bowl XII squad, giving the Orange Crush a ground game to complement the defense. After retiring in 1980, Armstrong settled in Centennial, Colorado, raising 3 daughters with his wife Yvonne. He battled chronic pain from spinal injuries sustained during his career. In 2012, Purdue's all-time leading rusher was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. 2 years later, the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame followed. Armstrong passed away in 2021 at age 70, surrounded by family. Norris Weiss was a backup quarterback for the Denver Broncos from 76 to 79. He appeared in Super Bowl XII as a reserve behind Craig Morton, the Broncos' first trip to the big game. A dependable arm when called upon, ready to step in and execute the game plan. Weiss's role was limited throughout his career, but he remained part of Denver's quarterback room through some of the franchise's most important playoff runs. After leaving football, he became a certified public accountant in Denver, building a second career in finance. Weiss died in 1995 at age 43 from bone cancer. Steve Foley was the ball hawk that defined Broncos defense in the late 70s and early 80s. The safety joined Denver in 1976 and spent his entire career patrolling the secondary in orange and blue. A rangy presence with a nose for the football, always seeming to be in the right place. Foley finished his career with 44 interceptions, making him the Broncos' all-time interception leader, a record that still stands. He started 2 Super Bowls for Denver during their late 70s playoff runs. In 2024, the Broncos inducted him into their Ring of Fame, recognizing one of the franchise's greatest defensive backs. At 72, he's retired, spending his time as a family man watching his grandson play soccer. Bob Swenson was a linebacker for the Denver Broncos, breaking into the league as an undrafted free agent in 1975. He earned a Pro Bowl selection and an All-Pro nod during his career, anchoring the defense through the mid-70s. A downhill thumper who read blocks and filled gaps without hesitation. After hanging up his cleats, Swenson moved into real estate development before finding his true calling in advocacy work. He became president and co-founder of the Freedom 58 Project, an anti-human trafficking nonprofit. He also founded Point Man and Ambassador Ministry for Promise Keepers, building a network of 18,000 advocates, and launched the Faces of Freedom art exhibit to amplify survivor voices. Today, at 72, Swenson continues leading the Freedom 58 Project, fighting human trafficking through art, education, and advocacy. Joe Rizzo took an unusual path to the Orange Crush. The linebacker played college ball at the Merchant Marine Academy, got drafted by Buffalo in the 15th round in '73, then landed in Denver. For 7 seasons, he was the 4th man in that legendary linebacker core, alongside Gradishar, Jackson, and Swenson, the overlooked piece of a Hall of Fame unit. Steady and smart, filling gaps and making plays without the headlines. Rizzo recorded 9 career interceptions and made 60 starts, including Super Bowl 12. But he played his entire NFL career on a knee he first injured in the Merchant Marines, pain that eventually triggered anxiety attacks and a years-long struggle with medication. He got help, built a second career in commercial real estate, found his footing again. At 75, Rizzo lives in semi-retirement in Wilmington, North Carolina, proof that life after football can still be a comeback story. Louis Wright locked down receivers for 12 seasons in Denver, his entire NFL career. The cornerback made 5 Pro Bowls and earned 2 All-Pro selections, dominant enough to land on the Hall of Fame All-1970s team alongside the best defensive backs of the decade. They called him Ludini. Passes vanished into his coverage. Wright was a cornerstone of the Orange Crush secondary, helping Denver reach its first Super Bowl in franchise history. His lockdown coverage made life easier for everyone else on that defense. When your corner can erase an entire side of the field, the whole scheme opens up. The Broncos inducted him into their Ring of Fame in 1993. San Jose State and the PFRA Hall of Very Good followed. But Canton, still waiting. Despite 5 Pro Bowls, 2 All-Pro selections, and a spot on the Hall of Fame's All-Decade team, Wright remains on the outside looking in. One of the most glaring omissions in Canton's modern era. Recently retired at 72, he was a teacher and football coach at Gateway High School in Aurora, teaching the next generation a game he never got full credit for mastering. Larry Canada was a running back for the Denver Broncos, entering the league in 1978. While he never made a Pro Bowl during his time in Denver, Canada carved out a role in the Broncos' backfield through the late 70s and into the early 80s. A workmanlike runner who did the job between the tackles when his number was called. After his NFL career ended, Canada took his talents to the USFL, playing from 1983 to 1985 in the upstart Spring League. He died in 2021 at age 66. Rob Lyle was a consensus All-American running back at Michigan and the Big Ten's most valuable player in 1976. He left Ann Arbor with the Wolverines' career rushing record at 3,317 yards, a mark that stood for years after his departure. He finished 3rd in Heisman voting that year. The Denver Broncos made him their 2nd-round pick in 1976, and he became a key piece of their backfield. Quick feet and vision between the tackles, always finding the crease. Lyle helped carry Denver to Super Bowl 12, though not without controversy. In the AFC Championship against Oakland, Jack Tatum knocked him cold at the 2-yard line. The ball came loose, Raiders recovered, but the refs ruled him down. Denver scored on the next play. Oakland still calls it the worst call in NFL history. After his playing days, Lyle suffered from the effects of repeated head injuries. He died of a heart attack in 2010 at age 56 and was later diagnosed with CTE. In 2015, he was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. Rick Upchurch was one of the most dangerous return specialists of his era, a game-breaking threat for the Denver Broncos starting in 1975. He was named Offensive Rookie of the Year in 1975, made 4 Pro Bowls and 5 All-Pro teams, earning spots on both the Hall of Fame All-1970s team and the Hall of Fame All-1980s team. Electric in the open field, vision and acceleration that could flip field position in an instant. Upchurch's dual-threat ability as a receiver and returner made him a cornerstone of Denver's offense through the late 70s and early 80s. After his playing days, he coached football at Tabor College in Hillsborough, Kansas. then served as head football coach at Pueblo East High School in Colorado from 2005 through 2006, posting a 1-19 record. Today, Upchurch is retired and still signs autographs for Broncos fans at age 73. Craig Morton became the first quarterback to start a Super Bowl for two different franchises, leading the Broncos to the big game in 1977 after doing the same with Dallas years earlier. That comeback season earned him both NFL Comeback Player of the Year and AFC Offensive Player of the Year honors. A veteran pocket passer who could still sling it when it mattered. Morton's resurgence in Denver gave the franchise its first championship appearance, cementing his place in the Broncos' Ring of Fame in 1988. He was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame in 1992. After his playing days, Morton served as head coach of the Denver Gold in the USFL and co-authored Then Morton Said to Elway in 2008 with Adrian Dater. He's retired today at age 82. Super Bowl XII didn't end the way Denver wanted, a 27-10 loss to Dallas. But the Crush had announced themselves. The AFC knew what was coming. Dave Preston carried the ball for the Denver Broncos, starting in 1978, playing running back during the franchise's early playoff years. Despite being drafted by New England in 1977, he played his entire career in Denver, contributing to a backfield that helped establish the Broncos as a contender in the late 70s. A steady north-south runner who could find the yards between the tackles. While Preston never earned Pro Bowl recognition, he remained committed to Denver long after his playing days ended. After retiring, he founded Preston & Associates, a real estate appraisal firm. He also owns Golden Bison Management, a private equity firm. He served as Colorado sports chairman for muscular dystrophy and became a founding board member of Rebuilding Together, Metro Denver. The Boy Scouts of America honored him for his community work. Today, at 70, he serves on the Denver Broncos Alumni Council. Bucky Dilts was a punter for the Denver Broncos, joining the team as an undrafted free agent in 1977. That rookie season, Dilts earned a spot on the PFWA All-Rookie team and helped Denver reach Super Bowl XII. A steady leg and quick release, built for the altitude and pressure of Mile High Stadium. After his time with the Broncos ended with no new NFL offers, Dilts transitioned into sales and marketing in the Denver-Boulder area. He's remained in that field ever since, still working as a sales and marketing professional in the Denver-Boulder area today, at age 72. Red Miller took over the Denver Broncos in 1977 as a first-year head coach and immediately turned them into champions. He won AFC Coach of the Year that season and led the Broncos all the way to Super Bowl XII, their first ever appearance in the big game. Discipline and toughness on defense, an identity forged in his first season. After leaving Denver, Miller returned to coaching in the upstart USFL, taking the helm of the Denver Gold in 1983. Miller died in 2017 at age 89. Randy Gradishar was the heart and soul of Denver's Orange Crush defense, the inside linebacker who made everything run. 7 Pro Bowls, 5-time All-Pro selections, and in 1978, both the AP and UPI Defensive Player of the Year awards. Credentials that should have punched his ticket to Canton on the first ballot. Instinctive and relentless, always around the ball when it mattered. Instead, Gradishar's Hall of Fame case became one of football's longest-running injustices. For decades, voters passed him over despite credentials that matched any linebacker of his era. The snub became so egregious, it sparked campaigns from fans, teammates, and media members who watched him dominate. Finally, in 2024, the call came. 42 years after his final game, Canton at last. After hanging up his cleats, Gradishar never left Denver. He served as president of the Broncos Youth Foundation from 1982 to 1992, became honorary chair for Susan G. Komen, and led the Phil Long Community Fund. At 73, he works as director of corporate communications for Phil Long dealerships, still repping the city that never stopped fighting for his legacy. That core, Gradishar, Wright, Foley, Thompson, Jackson, defined what it meant to play defense in Denver. The players who followed inherited that standard. Nathan Poole was a 10th-round pick out of Louisville in 1979, the kind of long shot who had to scratch and claw for every roster spot. He worked his way into Cincinnati's rotation as a running back, only to miss Super Bowl 16 with an injury. That close to a ring, but it wasn't meant to be. A grinder who earned every carry, never flashy but always reliable when his number was called. Poole landed in Denver in '82 and spent 4 more seasons in the Broncos' backfield. After hanging it up, he headed home to Alabama. At 68, he's retired in Alexander City, right back where he started. Rulon Jones was a force on the Denver Broncos' defensive line throughout the 1980s. The defensive end made 2 Pro Bowls and earned All-Pro honors, capping his dominance with the 1986 UPI Defensive Player of the Year award. Relentless pursuit off the edge, collapsing pockets with power and technique, Jones anchored Denver's defense during their AFC Championship runs, establishing himself as one of the era's premier pass rushers. After hanging up his cleats, he founded Broadmouth Canyon Ranch in 1989, a 25,000-acre operation in Utah's Wasatch Range. He expanded the hunting business to include a 5,000-acre elk reserve and additional locations across Idaho, Mexico, and Spain. Jones is alive today at age 67, still running his Broadmouth Canyon Ranch empire. Dennis Smith arrived in Denver in 1981 and never left. 14 seasons, 184 games, all in orange and blue. The USC All-American played alongside Ronnie Lott and Joey Browner in college, 3 future Pro Bowl safeties on the same defense, and brought that championship standard to the Broncos. One of the most feared safeties the league has ever seen. Smith finished as Denver's all-time leading tackler with 1,171, adding 30 interceptions and 15 sacks from the secondary. 6 Pro Bowls. When Steve Atwater arrived, it was Smith who taught him what it took to play the position at that level. The Broncos inducted him into the Ring of Fame in 2001. Colorado Sports Hall of Fame followed in 2006. USC honored him as well. At 66, Smith is retired in Southern California, back near Santa Monica, where he once held the high school high jump record before football became his future. Steve DeBerg arrived in Denver in 1981 as insurance. A veteran pocket passer with a quick release and the smarts to read defenses, he was the kind of quarterback you hoped you'd never need, but were grateful to have on the roster. DeBerg spent 18 seasons bouncing between 5 teams, throwing for over 34,000 career yards despite rarely holding a starting job. He became the oldest quarterback to start an NFL game at 44, a record that stood until Brady broke it decades later. At 45, he was still good enough to make Atlanta's Super Bowl roster. After hanging it up, DeBerg coached with the Giants under Dan Reeves and spent time in the Arena League. At 72, he's still around, still part of the game he never wanted to leave. Lyle Alzado was a ferocious pass rusher who terrorized offenses for over a decade. The defensive end made 2 Pro Bowls and 2 All-Pro teams during his time in Denver, winning the 1977 UPI Defensive Player of the Year award as the anchor of the Orange Crush front. Pure violence off the edge. Quarterbacks heard him coming. Alzado's intensity defined Denver's identity in the 70s. He was the enforcer who made offensive lines panic and signal callers check over their shoulders. After 8 seasons with the Broncos, he moved to Cleveland and then Oakland, where he finally got his ring in Super Bowl 18. His 1982 PFWA Comeback Player of the Year award proved he still had plenty left. After retiring, Alzado worked as a color analyst for NBC's NFL coverage from 1988 to 1989. In his final years, he publicly admitted to steroid use throughout his career, trying to warn others even as his health declined. Alzado died of brain cancer in 1992 at age 43, a cautionary tale that still resonates today. Defensive tackle Reuben Carter was a force in the middle of the Orange Crush, beginning his NFL career in 1975. Carter made 2 Pro Bowls with Denver and helped anchor that dominant defensive line through the Super Bowl XII run. After his playing days ended, Carter stayed in football as a coach. He spent time on NFL staffs with the Broncos from '87 to '88, the Redskins from '99 to 2000, and the Jets from 2001 to 2003. He then took the head coaching job at Florida A&M from 2005 to 2007, followed by stints at New Mexico from 2009 to 2011 and Purdue from 2013 to 2015. After Purdue, Carter stepped away from coaching to focus on supporting his son, Andre Carter's football career. Now 73, Carter is largely retired. The Orange Crush made 3 straight playoff runs and left an imprint on Denver that still echoes today. Nearly 50 years later, the Broncos are 1 win from another Super Bowl, but they'll have to get there the hard way. Bo Nix broke his ankle on the second-to-last play of that Bills victory, ending his season 3 plays before the game-winning kick. History doesn't repeat, but it sure does rhyme. If you enjoyed tracking down this legendary defense, hit that subscribe button. There's plenty more football history to uncover. If you liked this video, we think you will love one of the ones on your screen. Thanks for watching.